Matt and I are out and about early this morning and gonna see what we can do in the garden. Matt is really happy, ain't you?
What am I happy about?
About the weather.
Oh yeah, it won't last but a few minutes, but yeah, it's nice. It's cool this morning.
It was 59 degrees. 59 degrees this morning in Brasstown. All the humidity's gone. Feels pretty amazing out here.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
It'll be, I'm sure the heat will be back, but it's a nice little break this morning. Makes you want to go mow the yard and weed eat and do all that.
No, it makes me want to go in the woods.
Go in the woods
Yeah,
or
go
go
fishing.
fishing or
Yeah.
something like that. So we're going to go through the beans real quick first. We know there's some there that need to be picked, but not as much as we got last week. Matt needs to stake up the peppers, and then I'm not sure what else.
I don't know, we'll find something.
I'm sure there's always other things that need doing. See many?
There's a few. What's this? You mean you're going to keep those separate?
Well, these right here are the butter beans. Look at them. They're not getting full yet, but there's a little, seems like there's a lot of them, and they look real good, don't they?
Wasn't talking about those. I was talking about the beans.
Want me to scoot down a little bit? Am I crowding you?
You in my space, woman.
I can't believe how nice this weather feels. I'm sure the humidity
already-
will come back, but
Well, it's already past the good part of it, and now it's beginning to heat. Early this morning's when it was really nice.
I'm going to swap sides. I'm going too slow for you.
Well, I mean, I'm just running up to you and you've done picked them. I'll go down here and start.
We want to help these beans a lot is if we get a big rain for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, it needs it bad. But it don't look like it's coming anytime soon.
No. I was hoping that storm would bring some, but I think it went way north of us.
Yeah.
That's about it.
On this side.
Pitiful beans.
This dry weather's failed us this year.
Yeah.
Okay, I dropped the bean there. I know I did.
Oh.
Now I don't see it. There it is. It bounced.
So this is what we ended up with.
Yeah, it's just enough for a mess for supper is about all.
The difference I pointed out last week from the rattlesnake beans on the front, on the left there of the screen, and then the ones on the back is even more marked this week. I think it's, again, the dry weather, but also, I know you're already thinking, but Tipper, the dry weather is affecting those in the back too. True. But what's happened to our rattlesnake beans is our bug bean that we get, the little yellow, I think it's a Mexican beetle it's called, has really been after them in the last week. And we've always had trouble with them. Usually it's later in the year than it is right now. And last year, the first time we planted a big long row of the rattlesnake beans, we actually had 2 rows last year, they didn't bother them. So I thought, oh, maybe, they don't like rattlesnake beans. Well, they do. I guess it just took them till this year to figure that out. The beans down here on this little part look especially good to me, and they are the Good Mother Stallard pole bean, and Susie shared that seed with us, and I said, you know, if there was ever a time to plant a bean that had mother in it, it was this year with the girls having babies. They are just now beginning to put out beans, so I hope that they're supposed to be really prolific, and I hope that they are. See some of the blooms right there, still blooming. There's quite a few blooms, so hopefully that means it's going to really be prolific for us. I did pick one of them yesterday or day before and took it in and just opened it up. I wanted to see what it looked like. And then I ate the inside, the beans, and it tasted very similar to a pea instead of a bean. So I thought that was really interesting. Now the seeds we planted were really lovely. They were kind of speckled and really beautiful. Of course, you would dry them to get them to look like that, but I thought it was interesting that they tasted more like a pea in a way, and really what they tasted like was a butter bean, which we really love. So I'm still hopeful that those will be one that we enjoy and does well for us, even in this, if they did well this year with the conditions of it being so dry, then that certainly would tell us that's one we should try again in the future. Here's some of the little bugs I was talking about. You can see there the bean bugs. Those have fallen off. They're kind of furry looking. I always think they look like little fur balls. And the reason those fell off is because I sprayed them yesterday with something one of you told me about way back. It was before the growing season had even started, and I just thought, if it works like that, I need to go ahead right now and buy it. So I did, and this is it, so you can see. And the active ingredients in it, I loved, and the person that left the comment said this, you know, it's for organic gardening, because and then you can read the ingredients in it are like thyme oil, rosemary, clove oil, peppermint oil, and then it's got some other stuff too. But anyway, it seems to have really worked. As you can see, they're laying on the ground. Except as we went on, as I was picking beans with Matt and went on further down, I did see a few more still on the leaves, so maybe I need to do it again. Let's see. It's on the back, I think. I read yesterday about the directions. Let's see what it says. So it says, prior to mixing, shake well. I said we don't want to read that. Thoroughly spray leaves and stems until there is runoff. Spray outdoor plants early in the morning or evening to avoid the hottest part of the day. Do not apply in temperatures over 90 degrees. If a second application is necessary, wait at least 5 days prior to reapplication. When using as a repellent, apply every 7 to 10 days for additional safety. Avoid use when pollinators are active. So you'd have to think about that. That's another reason to do it in the late evening, thinking about the pollinators. Anyway, I just wanted to share this if you have a problem, because once these little bean bugs take over your beans, they can literally just strip them in 2 or 3 days, and there's just nothing left. But you can see right here, nothing left but the stem. As this goes further up, the leaves are still there, but that's what it does. They just eat the leaves until they're gone and they fall off. Here's some of the leaves that you can see what they've done. So I wonder, thinking about a prevention, now that I know this works, if next year, maybe at the very beginning when the beans first come out, if you did it once a week or once every 2 weeks just as a preventative, and maybe those bugs they'd have to go somewhere else and find something else to eat during their life cycle, since they're just following their little life cycle. And if you catch them at the right time, maybe you could break it. I guess you'd like for me to pull up all that purslane, wouldn't you?
Well, I just was wondering about it. I don't care. If you're going to keep it.
It's certainly not bothered by the heat, is it? And the dryness?
No, you can
You
eat
need to
that
be
stuff.
eating it.
How you eat it?
You remember, you've just forgot, we've eaten it before. You can eat it raw in salads, but I've cooked it before like a green, and you liked it like that.
Yeah, okay.
Someone recently told me that they harvest it, and I think they said they freeze it, and that way they just use it in the winter. They put it in like soups and stews and stuff, just throw it in.
Mm-hmm.
For just kind of making it, I guess it would just make it thicker, kind of like we add kale and spinach and things like that to soups sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Make it go a little further.
Yeah, make it go a little further and enrich it and give it flavor and all that. We need to be looking at the calendar and see when we can make kraut, and I guess it's time to harvest our cabbage there.
Mm-hmm.
You ready to go in the back and work on the steaks?
Yeah, I think so.
Uh-oh, broke on you?
Yeah, it had a bad place in it. I ain't got many of them. I figured I'll just try to use all we got.
That one in the middle's so pitiful. I don't even know if it's going to do anything. I just leave it. If it suddenly starts growing, we can add one. I don't think it's going to.
It don't appear to be, does it?
Those gypsy peppers have done good.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when we used to grow them and they always did produce real well.
Mm-hmm.
I just somehow forgot about them, didn't you?
If you did, I did.
Yeah, I just happened to see them that day at Wayne Jr.'s, and I thought, wow, that's something I hadn't thought about. How did we ever quit growing them? Because they were so prolific, and they're tasty too. You know what I can't remember?
What?
We planted jalapenos, didn't we?
We planted one or two, and then
Is that them over there?
I don't know. Ain't they got no markers on?
You even bought me markers, right?
I did.
I have used markers better this year. That plant's got a little pepper on it, see it?
Mm-hmm.
Lots of blooms. We really need to water that bed though. They're kind of wildy looking. Is that a woodpecker?
Mm-hmm.
It's odd that blueberry bush behind you, it doesn't have one blueberry on it, I don't think, and all those others are just loaded.
Has it ever had?
Yeah, it usually does.
I don't ever recall eating none off of it.
Yeah, usually does. Using your dandy little knots.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, now if we get a thunderstorm that has some wind in it, maybe it'll hold them up. I don't think we're going to get one though, do you?
It ain't looking like it. I ain't gonna do them short ones just yet.
No, I just wait on them. Matt and I planted this garlic last November, I guess, something like that. So I've been dreading pulling it up because it's been such a dry year and we've not kept these beds watered at all. I'm not sure how big, if any, if there'll even be anything on the bottom. Now we did already manage to, I for the first time, cut all the garlic scapes off and made pesto, which was really, really good. Makes me wish I had some homemade bread to smear some on right now, Matt. What about you?
Well, I just need to make one.
Yeah, need to make some. So we'll see. Let's pull this one. Let's see. So, not bad. You can feel the little cloves in there. Not bad. I'll take that. I was afraid I'd pull it up and there'd be nothing on it. That one's way smaller, but still, it'll eat. Oh my goodness, Matt, look. This is such a surprise.
Really?
So I noticed early in the year that there was some stuff growing up here in with the garlic, and I started to pull it up, and then one day I thought it was mustard greens, and I thought, well, no, it doesn't really look like a mustard green, and then I kind of forgot about it because I didn't think it looked like a weed. And then I should have remembered what we planted in here, but I was thinking it was mustard greens. I guess that was in a different one. Anyway, Matt, look what it is, actually.
Cool.
A turnip.
Big fat turnip.
I thought it was going to be a rutabaga. That's why I was going to be like, Matt, you're going to be so surprised because we've tried to grow them and just can't. But there you go. Look at that. Ain't that great?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I didn't pull it up.
Let's eat it.
We will. And there's another one. Over on this side, let's see how big it is. Oh, another big one. Ain't that a pleasant surprise? So we planted these turnips last fall? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we didn't plant none this spring. That is a pleasant surprise. Okay, back to the chore at hand. Those are big turnips. Those might be enough for me and you to make a meal out of. Of course, I'm tempted to go in there and cut one up and eat it with some salt. Matt's looking at me like, don't you dare. So a lot of people, when they harvest their garlic, they braid it and let it hang and let it dry that way. We've never really done that. For one thing, we just don't have a good place to hang it, and I don't know why. I guess we think this is easier. So Matt's cutting most of the stalk off, but leaving, what do you say, like 3 inches or something? And then we'll just spread it out. Usually we do spread it out on our porch, front porch, to dry. And, you know, before we take it in, and really, to be honest with you, we won't even take it in the house till cold weather gets here, will we?
No.
This is a good harvest. This will do us for a long time. We love garlic. We eat a lot of garlic. And typically we just use it, just dry it and use it as we need it that way. We've never tried to really like put it in oil or anything.
That's
I've
what
always
we need
wanted
to.
to. Yeah, I always
need to
wanted to do
I've had that and I like it.
Yeah. When I say we've used it dried, I mean we just get the cloves and then we chop them up and put them in the, like if we're putting it, making a spaghetti sauce or whatever it is you're doing with it. But it would be nice to go ahead and put make minced garlic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Lots of things you can do with it though. Okay, we've got a little bit in this next bed. I guess we might as well get it too. Not as much garlic in this bed, just one end of it. No, it don't look like it's as large as the ones up there. I don't think it did as good for whatever reason. It's really close to the other bed, but these don't look as large, do they? Look like they're smaller. Since I cleaned this bed out, the plants that were already there, which is not many, are doing way better. Gave them more room to breathe, I guess. Really exciting too to see some of the things I planted coming up. That's a balloon flower that Granny gave me ages ago, and it blooms every year, but I had totally forgot about it just because it was so covered up by the anemones. The moss roses that I planted up here, they're doing way better than the ones in the back, even better than the ones I put in the pot. Here's some of the little seeds I planted when I cleaned out the bed. So they're up and doing good. I have managed to water this one about every day, if not every other day. So I hope by fall of the year, I'll get to see some of those bloom. Mine smells like going to the lake or the beach or somewhere out in the sun, to the pool, something like that. Smell of suntan lotion, right?
SPF 50.
It tastes really good though, just like coconut. Matt thinks it tastes like something else.
The coconut? Yeah, it tastes like suntan lotion or what do you call it, sunscreen?
Sunscreen?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Ask me how I know.
How you know? Did you eat some when you was little or something?
Yeah.
It was like April, our niece, putting Vaseline on a cracker. Oh gosh, the things kids do. Today is nice. Ain't this nice?
Yeah.
Almost feels like fall of the year.
Breeze.
It's really nice. There's like no humidity, I don't think. Matt thinks it's coming back, but I still don't feel it.
Well, it is out in the sunshine. It's hot.
I don't know. It's not as hot as it has been.
Well,
Feels very nice to be outside. This time of the year is nice too because we don't have as much to do. The hard, heavy lifting's over. I mean, there's plenty of heavy lifting needs to be done. This area back here that we've pretty much given up on should be cleaned out. My asparagus bed, our asparagus bed over there. My flowers. So there's still a lot of stuff that we could be doing, but we're not going to do it today.
No.
Old timers called this time of the year when you pretty much like your corn, and that was probably the big thing that they were concerned about, because of course you got to eat that fresh corn, but you had to save it. It wasn't sweet corn like what me and Matt's growing. You had to save it and dry it so that your animals would have something to eat, but so that you'd have cornmeal through the winter, so you'd have meal. And once it gets to a certain height and you've done pretty much all you can do, they called it like laying by. They've laid by. It's laid by, and that's just all we can do for it. The good Lord will either let it make or it won't, but we've done all we can do. We've hoed it and healed it and all the things that people did. And now we just gotta let it go and see what happens.
Yep.
That was really a joyous time for people in those days.
Oh, yeah.
When you think about the massive cornfields and all manual labor.
Especially when it made good, it was a joyous time. And if it didn't, it was stressful.
Very, yeah, not like us today. I think the kids especially probably loved lay-by time, because that meant they wasn't as needed. I mean, there were still chores to do, but they might get to go fishing or go swimming or whatever. But I think even the adults felt like that too. But yeah, so much more of a dependency on the food then in those days, and just had to have it. It's not like if everything in mine and Matt's garden failed, every bit of it, we could go to the grocery store and buy food and not starve. Just such a different time. Even without the rain, though, it's amazing how our garden has produced already and is still producing.
I'm amazed those tomatoes look as good as they do. Because they don't
Tomatoes actually look better than they have in a year or two, so we always do pretty good with tomatoes, though, but they just look especially good this year.
Got a nice, handsome new bed to sit in, too. Little redneck bed.
Maybe that's why. I don't know, but they do look good. The ones down at the lower end look better now that we put some compost and stuff on them. They're looking better. They don't have as near the tomatoes that these up here, but they're looking okay.
No, right there's pretty well loaded.
They are. The Cherokee Purple does really good for us. It's interesting. I'm a real believer, of course, in the, I don't even know what that is, the USDA or what that is, that puts out like the hardiness zone.
Yeah.
That's great, and that's a great place to start if you're a beginner gardener especially, but I'm a big believer in the little microclimates, like even here, like things that, it's amazing the difference between our house right here and just right there at the big garden or Granny's house. It's just a little bit different because it's a little bit higher up on the mountain, and it gets a little bit less sun, even though it's not that far. It's not like I'm saying we're a mile beyond them. We're not. But it's amazing, isn't it, Matt, the difference in the way things grow and just the moisture and everything. It's just such a difference. Because of that, and then of course soil too. If your soil has, depending on where you live, how the nature of your soil affects the plant. So for us, the Cherokee Purple do really, really great, but for somebody else, it may be more like what the Brandywines and the German Johnson does for us. So far, the German Johnson has one tomato on it. The plant looks pretty good, but it's got one tomato.
Yeah, no other blooms.
And no other blooms. So, but for you, that might be the one that just really produces. So that's the thing, is if you are going to be a gardener, you kind of got to in the beginning, especially if you move to a new house, maybe you are a gardener but you're moving, then you'll have to learn that little microclimate in the soil and see what does good for you and what doesn't. Those German Johnson and the Brandywine they have a wonderful flavor, really, really good. But you can't, me and Matt, neither one can't justify putting all this work in for one tomato, not when like the Cherokee Purple or every plant's hanging full of tomatoes. So just something you have to trial and error learn.
Yeah, I can see 40 or 50 tomatoes that's big as your fist right now, green, and then that many more blooms. So they really put out.
Yeah, for us, and then they might not for you. Matt's still anxiously awaiting his tomato sandwich, though.
I can see one turning right there.
Can you?
Just barely.
Just barely.
Yeah.
There is the one German Johnson. You might give in and do that one first? Either that or we're just going to have to cut it up and eat it because it is ripe, pretty much ripe.
I thought you wanted it.
No?
I was saving it for you.
You're sweet. We could cut it in half. It's about that big, about like a baseball or something. We could cut it in half and just eat it.
Yeah.
Something. I'm really excited about the corn.
Me too. It's been a long time since I've got to go down in the corn patch and pull a ear of corn and come home right then and cook it. You know, hour or so before supper, go pull enough for supper and eat it fresh. That's just so good.
Yeah. So far, the deer that's nibbled on the beans and the peas down there, they've not bothered anything else. Not bothered the corn, but I guess they wouldn't until it actually gets corn on it. Is that when they do, or?
And I don't know that they bother it then until after I think they like it better when it's dried. I mean, the problem with them a lot is they'll just knock it down traveling through it, not particularly eating it or until it's dry, and then once it's dry, then they'll eat it.
Always dreaming about the future. Next year it'd be nice to plant at least one big row of hickory king or hickory cane or something and make hominy, if I knew how to make hominy. Now I know how to make it. Granny made it in the crock pot, but I like to make it the old way. Or dry it and grind it.
We'll grow you some if you want it. We have grown it down there before.
Yeah, we
for
have.
Her.
Yeah, for Mama to make hominy. And Pap liked hominy too. Oh, this is nice.
It is. We're about to get sunshine though.
Are we? We're gonna have to move. Have to move our chairs if we do.
Either that or talk fast.
Thinking about the deer, of course, Matt's already planning, for next year, thinking about maybe a fence, maybe this or that. Several of you have told us about the pie plates, and we knew that, and we actually had them ready to do, and then somehow we never did do them, so we might try that. But I think it was on last night's video, maybe, or a video earlier this week, I guess is when it was. But Connie left a comment about, I get the channel right. I've seen the channel. It's a really nice one. If you've not watched it, you should go watch it. But True Grit in Appalachia, I think. I may be messing that part up. But anyway, that they had been having a problem with deer, and they had tried this, what did I say? It was a solar-powered alarm. Is that what it was? Something like that, sound alarm. Anyway, and that it worked for them. So I thought, well, I didn't even know they made something like that. Matt and I have thought about like a radio and those kind of things in the big garden and Granny's garden where the deer have been. But we don't really have, there's not a power source. Then we thought about batteries and, you think about all those things. Anyway, these are solar. And it's really, I went and found one just on Amazon, and I'm not sure it's the same one that they're using. But me and Matt got a good laugh at it this morning. It has a little video that you can play to hear the sound. It's motion detected, so when it detects motion, even at night, it will start playing these recorded sounds, and so it was like gunfire and barking dog.
Yeah, simultaneously.
It said it had like settings where you could do one or the other, or I think you could even do your own, didn't it? And because I told Matt he could just say, "Get out of my corn," and have that play. Anyway, we ordered a couple of them, so we'll see if they work for us. So that would be thinking about the power situation. If the solar, and the reviews were decent, that said that it would, that it held a charge good. So we'll see. We don't know if they'll work or not, but it's almost. Just because I thought it was so funny, I thought it's almost worth doing, even if just to entertain myself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We'll have to, what would really be funny, we won't do this, we would tell Paul, but if we didn't tell Paul and then he was making the trip from his house to Granny's and he said it all.
Yeah, we ought to set one up.
Oh, gosh. He has a great story he tells about, this is when Matt and I first had Corey and Katie, and they were probably, I don't know, toddlers or something like that. And in those days, I think we had like some kind of satellite TV, but Granny and Pap and Paul, I guess he was still at home then, in college maybe, or maybe just graduated, I can't remember. Anyway, they didn't have it. And so me and Matt had left to go out to Papa Tony's, I guess, or Miss Cindy's, I'm not sure where we went. And so we always told Paul anytime we left, go up to the house and watch TV, do whatever you want to, enjoy it. So he come up here, and it was in the night, and the door was kind of pushed open a little bit or something, wasn't it? It's what made him, and then he thought, well, this is really weird, so he went back home and got a gun and come back. And then come in the house and, started kind of looking around. There was nobody there. Everything was okay. But when he went in one room and turned on the light, Corey and Katie had a big bird, like a little stuffed animal. And when it was activated by light, and it would say peekaboo or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But it talked when Paul turned on the light. And since he was already scared, it like really scared him, And then he realized real quickly it was Big Bird saying it. But he tells that story. It's funny, So
it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's one he didn't shoot it and blow it all over there. Blow feathers everywhere.
Yeah, that's funny. Anyway, we're going to try that and see what that does. And if nothing else, I think it'll be fun. It was interesting reading the reviews. We wouldn't really have to worry about this because, for one thing, our neighbors are not that close. But two, the closest neighbors would be Austin and Corey and Granny and Paul. And so we would tell them what we were doing, of course, and the other people, I don't think they could hear. They're further away. But a lot of the reviews was like that, like it's working for whatever it was they were, scaring away deer or raccoon or whatever, and then said, and it's not, I can adjust the sound so that it doesn't affect my neighbors. And I thought, oh, that would be, you wouldn't want to blare that right in your neighbors, have the guns and
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
and the barking going off, at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, interesting. There was another quote, though. I don't have my phone with me, but I saved it. I will share in my next live next Monday. I saved it just for that. Someone left, and I can't quote it myself, so I'll just butcher it. But the gist of it was a line from a song, but it was about nature, that no matter what you do, it comes roaring back at you, which is true when you think about trying to keep the deer and the bugs and all that out of your garden. But also, if you... like this place over here that haunts me, that me and Matt's let get away from us, it don't take no time for nature just to take back what it, if you hew it out of the mountainside, like we would say, before long, the trees will come back, and the briars and the brambles and all that. You have to keep it beat back. In a place like this, it might be different in different climate or something, but where we live, definitely, you're constantly hewing out the mountain, beating it back every year. If not, before long, trees would literally be growing up beside our house. So finding those turnips was so surprising.
Yeah.
I first thought, I got all excited because I thought they was going to be a rutabaga, but they wasn't. We never managed to grow any rutabagas. Papa Tony has a friend, and he was in jail one time. And he said that's all they fed him was rutabagas.
And he don't like them.
And he don't like them because of that.
He don't even like to talk about them.
Crazy. Matt didn't like me saying I was going to chop them up though and put salt on them and eat them.
I want them things in a pot.
You want them stewed?
I want them stewed down with some
Cornbread. And
cornbread and something else along with it.
Oh.
That would be good.
It would be good. What amazes me with the turnips and the garlic is that we planted them last year, you know, last fall.
Yep.
It's amazing. And if
As Cousin Eddie says, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
yeah. Cousin Eddie. Yeah. Matt likes Cousin Eddie.
Yep.
If you didn't know, like the garlic, like if we had just not pulled it up, if we had just left it and just said we're just going to leave it right there, what would happen is it would die, that stem and stuff would die completely back down, but then next spring it would just come back up. It would just re-sprout. It'd be like almost like you planted it yourself again. You just never did. So there's a couple of places in our yard right here and then on down towards the blueberry bushes we have some garlic like that. It's a really old variety that come from my great aunt Susie. Granny had it and then she shared it with me. Susie had it and we kind of just leave it there. I don't know, I think of it, it's like an ornamental. I mean, I think of it like that because it, you know, has the big bulb on top with the little blooms that come out. But also, I always think of it like a safety net. I've always got garlic in the yard, you know, and it just kind of lives there and dies back and then comes back out the next year. And that down there by the blueberries has probably been there 10 years or something, a long time. Now this is, like I was saying, lay-by time kind of for us. The big things are done, but then that harvesting starts. We've canned one run of beans. Matt canned them all by himself there. I didn't even help that day. I was doing something else. Got to worry about the cabbage. I'm going to make some kraut. I think I'll make some more of that, the canned coleslaw. We really like that.
Yeah,
we eat all of it.
I forgot about that. That's,
Yeah,
my goodness, that's good stuff.
It is, and it's all gone. I didn't make many jars of it though, but it's gone. We all liked it. And
I might just do that instead of making the kraut.
I don't know. Me and Corey ate every jar of kraut. We just stand there and eat it together out of the jar.
I've never had the canned coleslaw, and that was really, really good.
Last year's kraut, instead of making it like me and Matt usually do, which is just with fermented with salt and really letting the cabbage bring the water out, release its juices there, and then we put it in jars. We do it like in a crock or in a jar, a big glass jar or something like that. But last year I used Granny's recipe because I wanted to share it in the video. And I have to admit, it was some of the best kraut I've ever made.
Yeah, I think it was really, really good.
It was really good.
It was better than what we'd normally done.
So I may do that again this year. And if you missed that video, I'll link to it in the description below. Actually, I'll link to both of them. I have one about the more traditional way that Matt and I do. But last year when I opened the first jar of Granny's, which of course I'd had hers and we knew it was good, but we just never done that our way, done it. Till you do it yourself, you don't fully understand it all.
Right.
But I could hear Granny in my head telling me that years ago when she first learned how to make it like that, her aunt told her how and said, you won't never make it any other way again. You won't. It'll be the best you've ever eaten, I promise you. And Granny said she was right, And I remembered that last year when we opened the first jar.
Really good.
But yeah, it was so good. Me and Corey would just sit there and eat out of the jar. It was really, really good. And then the other thing is our blueberries are good this year, which we've just been eating. I can put away the blueberries, so we've just been eating them. But we've got a lot of grapes, so we're going to have to think about what to do with them.
Jelly.
Yeah, jelly and juice. And this past week, I talked a lot about fox grapes on the Blind Pig and the Acorn. So if you've never been to my blog, it's just blindpigandtheacorn.com. You can go read some of those. But so fox grapes are wild grapes that grow here in our area. They grow along the creeks. And it's interesting, in one of those posts I share like the dictionary definition from the Dictionary of Smoky Mountain English. And it says that fox grapes and possum grapes are the same thing. Where I live, and like my knowledge that come from Pap, it's that they're two different things. Possum grapes are much smaller, darker, and way more tart, and they grow kind of in the tops of the trees. not by water, and then the fox grapes grow along the creek. And a lot of people ask me if those are muscadines or that. I don't know about the different types of grapes, so I can't answer that. I don't know if that's the same thing and somewhere else it's called that, and here it's called fox grapes. I'm not sure. Anyway, but there's several different posts about it, and one of them was from, I reshared, it was an old post back in, I want to say like 2011 or 2014, something like that. Anyway, by Ethelene Dyer Jones, and it was just her memories of them hunting fox grapes, harvesting them. It was a whole family affair, because that was again in the days when you had to think about winter. You know, what was you going to get to? You had to harvest everything, the wild stuff and the stuff you planted, so that you could make it through the winter. But it's a real heartwarming piece that she wrote about how even when she was too little to actually reach them, how they put her on, had a little stool that they put her on so that she could help too. And her mother died early in her life, so then she ended up being the person. Then soon, I think when she was like 13 or 14 years old, she took over the cooking and the canning, the preserving and all that for the family. So anyway, those are interesting if you want to jump over and read those. But so, I don't know if the past 2 or 3 years, we've not bothered with the fox grapes down there, but just like our grapes up here that are just hanging full, the fox grapes are too.
We need to get them.
Yeah, we do need to. They're harder to get because the coons, and I wonder if possums, they eat them too, probably.
Oh,
yeah. Those kind of night creatures, they gobble them up about as fast as they get ripe.
Yeah, and then some of them's 20 foot high too.
Some of them's 20 foot high, yeah. That's one of the things I shared, is that Pap used to tell me this story that when he was young, he would help his mother and his grandmother, which is really heartwarming, because it would have been just right here along this creek. You know, I can hardly say that without crying, just because of them, so meaningful that the generations of my family have been in this area. Anyway, he would help them because he could skin up the tree, as we would say, skin up the trees and then get the grapes. And one of the memories is that he fell out, and didn't hurt him. He fell in the creek, but what hurt him worse than, I guess, actually physically hurting him is he'd got a pocket watch somehow, and that was really hard to come by in those days. And I think he said it cost $2 from the Sears and Roebuck, and that would have been a lot of money for them. And he landed on that watch and it broke it.
Oh, gosh.
And his Uncle Wayne tried to fix it and couldn't, and he said they all felt sorry for him and wanted to buy him another one, but it just never happened. They never got another one. So he said that was one of his memories of helping Big Grandma and his mother get fox grapes from the creek. He'd also tell me that a funny story about that is that they made jelly, they made juice, they made jam, they done all that, but they also, because they were just so many of them, they would pickle them, and they put them in these crocks, and he said, and then they would serve them during the winter, you know, and he said they were just horrible. I hated them. And he said, the way he told me, he said, I sure was glad when better times come along and we didn't have to eat no more pickled grapes. So he felt that way about poke salad too. He'd say, the only way I'll eat poke salad is if, like when I was a boy, when I had to, there was nothing else. Yeah. So anyway. I think that's Matt's favorite part of the garden, is putting up stuff. You really like that. Oh, yeah. Of course, you love eating it. We both love that, but you really enjoy the putting up part.
Yeah, I like it because it's just of course I like to eat it, but it's a practice that's almost gone as far as the pressure canning and the other ways we do it. There's ain't a great deal of people left that does that, and the actual canning process takes a little bit of knowledge of knowing what you're doing, and I just enjoy knowing that and knowing that we can preserve food and provide for the future, with it, for future meals.
Right. It's really rewarding.
I mean, it's work and it's hot and all that, but that's the part I enjoy the most.
I enjoy all of it, from the beginning to the end, the hot, sweaty days, the picking, all that. Only thing I don't enjoy is the deer and the squash bugs and the bean bugs. Those are really the three things we deal with. We've never dealt with deer till this year.
This is the first year with the deer.
Yeah. One fall they nibbled on our fall garden, but that's kind of easier to let go because it's not very much stuff, and it's winter, it's going into winter.
And they've not bothered anything up here
No,
this
they've
year.
not bothered anything up here, just the big garden and Granny's garden. Anyway, but yeah, it is really rewarding to grow your own food. and to continue that tradition, thinking about if we're able to get any of the fox grapes this year, if we do that, Pap used to do that for his mother and his grandmothers. That'd be my great-grandmother, you know, that's really impressive.
It'll be literally be off the same vines from decades and decades ago.
Along the same creek, really powerful. Well, I guess the sunshine's about to get us, and Matt's probably come unfed.
Yep.
Ready to eat.
Ready to eat something.
I'm going to eat some watermelon. I got a watermelon just from the grocery store, but it is really good.
I tasted it. It is good.
It is a good one. I eat watermelon whether it's good or not, but this is a good one, so I've enjoyed it. I've been like eating it 3 times a day, though, so it's not going to last long.
Yeah, I've not been eating none of this because I've noticed that you had took a shine to it real big, so I'm letting you eat it.
How sweet.
I like it, but I don't have to eat it.
You don't like it like I do?
I don't like it like you do, no.
The only person that liked it as much as I do that I've ever met was Matt's mama, Miss Cindy. She loved it too. She'd tell me that. She'd say, you know, Tip, there's nobody that likes watermelon like we do. I'd say, I know.
I have a low tolerance for it's kind of messy and the seeds and all that stuff. I mean, I like the taste of it, but I can do without all that.
Too much trouble.
Yeah.
You got to just get where you're like an expert at spitting seeds.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do that. So.
We're always grateful when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia.